Hi everyone. It was really great meeting you all yesterday at the meetup at Media's house on the 9th of October. And we went over some Python when I was demonstrating essentially what Codebase is all about. And I feel that maybe I may have jumped the gun. I went over some stuff really quickly because A, I was keen to show you the tech, and B, I also wanted to give you like a kind of overlook of an overview of what we'd be covering during the course. And then I realized that I myself maybe could have slowed down a lot and explained things a little bit better. But so I've decided to do that today in this video, just to kind of go over that code snippet that we wrote and hopefully try and explain things a little bit better than I did yesterday. And sorry if I sound funny, by the way, because I've got a bit of a cold at the moment. If I remember correctly, we started with a for, and this is for I in, and I believe that I did for I in range 10, print I. So there's already quite a lot there. I mean, you're quite an experienced crowd, so I don't think there's any use really explaining to you what a for loop is. Although, since a lot of you are new to Python, I think it's really worth describing what's going on here, because, for example, if you were doing this in JavaScript, you might say, first of all, you would have the brackets, and then you'd say for var I equals 0, and then I smaller than 10, and then I plus plus, and then you'd have like a bracket here, and then you'd say, for example, console.log I, okay? So that looks quite different, and this is also how it would look in C or C++. You could say uint, and then you'd say printf, or you'd say cout I n line, for example, if you were in C++. But in Python, it really just looks as minimalistic as it possibly can, which is what's so cool about Python. It was really designed to be expressive and do as much as possible with as little text as possible. So to begin with, we have this range function here, and that's a built-in. And by the way, this video as well, you might wonder, well, what's built in and what editor are you using, and why does it have an editing section at the top and why does it have a terminal at the bottom? And again, I'm really rushing through here because I'm trying to give you a demonstration of what things will be like during the course. But we'll start the course slowly, and we'll look exactly at how to set up your environment, exactly the way you want it. And you won't have any of these confusions. At the moment, you will, unfortunately. And once again, if you do want to sign up, I really recommend doing so right now, so that I can get the ball rolling and create a lot more of these videos, maybe kind of going back a little bit at how to set up your environment properly and slowing down. But right now, again, I'm just trying to give you an overview of the course. So range is a built-in. So if I switch to the terminal here at the bottom of my editor and I type Python, I can say, for example, type of range. That's a built-in function or method, okay? And I can also say help range, and then Python will print its built-in help, okay? So help on built-in function range and module built-in. Range, stop, or it can take more than just one argument. It can take a start and a stop and a step as well. And basically it returns a list of integers, okay? So what this means is, like, we can say range 10, and that will go from 0 to 9, okay? Because essentially we always start from 0 in this case, but the last number is non-inclusive, okay? So if you wanted to use math notation, it would be something like this: 0, 10, okay? And we can also give it a stop, so we could start at, let's say 10. So if we do start and stop, we'd probably do 0 and 10, and that's the equivalent as just giving it a stop, okay? Or we could say from 10 to 20, or we could give it a step of 2. All right, so that's the range function, and here we've seen it how you can bring up like type information on built-in methods, and how we could also bring up help as well. So yes, for I in range, essentially, range returns a list containing 0 all the way up to 9, and then I on the first iteration contains 0, and then 1, and then 2, and 3, etc. So if I run this, is it python test.py, then we are going, which is simply sort of printing out 0 all the way up to 9. And if I remember correctly, afterwards, I created a list, okay? And just to be really clear, if you look at the leaflet that I gave you yesterday, if you look at the curriculum, which is essentially just the exercises of the book, Learn Python 3 the Hard Way, you'll see that functions only really show up in exercise 19, okay? So by that point, we'll be well into the course. I've just jumped ahead 20 exercises, okay? Just for you to get the feel. Yes, let's just continue. So I created a variable, if I remember correctly, and then I did foo and bar, okay? So again, now we're looking at lists, and lists are in exercise 32, where we have loops and lists. I'm sure lists must be actually appear before that, but yes, exercise 32 is looping over lists essentially. So now we've gone from exercise 20 to exercise 32, out of 52 exercises. So once again, we're really in the thick of the course, okay? And then instead of iterating over that range, we did for I in foo, and then when we run this, it actually prints foo and bar, okay? And then I went a little bit crazy again. I did a class, and let's just call this I don't know, Baz, okay? And then this is the constructor, or the init function, and I'll just say pass. And again, you know, pass, what is pass? Well, pass just passes and it does nothing, so it just helps with if we didn't have pass, then that would be invalid syntax, whereas now it is valid syntax. And you could just declare a class and pass the whole thing as well. So anyway, def init self. So this is a member function, okay, on the class Baz. And functions or methods in Python are declared with def. And since this is a method inside a class, we have indented its declaration. And underscore, these are essentially the kind of default methods inside classes, which you can then override to add your own functionality for these methods. And init is the constructor that gets called as this class Baz gets instantiated, created and instantiated. And I believe that I did self.name equals foo, and then again I did repra, and I don't want to get into repra yet, because repra is a formal representation of the object, and that's a really hairy subject, and I don't want to get into that now, okay? So let's do str instead, because that's the informal representation of the object, which therefore you can just kind of do what you want. And I think for repr, but in this case str, I just did return self.name. Okay, so essentially what we have here is a class baz, and we are declaring its constructor, and in its constructor we're creating a member variable called name, okay, that's on the object itself, and we're assigning the string foo to this member variable, and we're then again overriding this def str member function, which essentially is a way of saying when I convert this object back to a string, this is what I want the string to contain. In that case, that is self.name. So when baz gets converted back to a string, it should print out foo. Okay. And then what I did was here, instead of having bar, I actually just created an instance of the object, which therefore resides in the first element, well, I should say the second element of this list, which means that when we run this code, we should now get foo printed twice. Okay, there you go, foo. And now just one last improvement I'd like to make on this code is in the init function you can pass a name, and instead of assigning name directly there hard-coded onto self.name, I'll just give it name. And also this will be a default argument, so if I don't pass the name while constructing baz, then again by default it will be called foo, so now there won't be any difference at all. But if I pass, let's say, bar here, then now I'll get foo and bar. Okay, so once again, really rushing through things, and I cannot stress this quite enough, that you know, object orientation really shows up towards exercise 40, and that's really sort of nearing the end of the entire course. So we're really rushing ahead here, but I just wanted to give you a kind of idea of you know, where we'll be towards the end of the course. I mean, it will be a lot more interesting than this, but you know, because I sort of wrote these things very quickly yesterday as a demonstration of the tech that we'll be using, I thought really I ought to kind of create a video to kind of break it down, and also to give you an idea how, you know, if we cover something, if I know that we've gone too fast, I'll always go back and try and make it you know, elucidate things a little bit. But in this case, if this feels rushed, it's completely normal, and I really just recommend signing up now to get the ball rolling, and we'll be covering things really slowly right from the start and ramp you up bit by bit until we can reach a more advanced level. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much for your attention, and once again, lovely meeting you face to face yesterday, and I hope to speak to you all very soon. All right, bye bye.